There's an episode of the show Freaks and Geeks where the main character, Lindsay Weir, who is a high school student, she's feeling kind of lost, and she goes to her guidance counselor, and he gives her American Beauty by the Grateful Dead. And he's just like, just listen to this. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, okay, I guess. She takes it home. She listens to it. She's like, whatever. And then she puts it on again, and she puts it on again. And then during the sequence, you see her progressively get into it the more she listens to it, and she's dancing by the end.
One afternoon on the cover.
And then when she was at school, actually before that scene happens, when she's at school in the lunchroom, one of the hippie, like Grateful Dead fan classmates, students, says to her, man, I'm really jealous that you got to hear that for the first time. That's the coolest experience. Have fun, you know? And I felt that way listening to A Farewell to Kings today. I don't know if I will ever have the same reaction because I've heard all that stuff now. But I was on a walk with my dogs, and I put on my headphones, and I wanted to close my eyes, but for the safety of my dogs, I didn't. But there were moments where I was in a safe location. I just kind of like let the music take me away. And that felt really emotional for me because as a professional musician, I don't get that part of the music as much as I get all the other parts, the stresses of ego, not my own, others. The stresses of being around other egos is hard. The stresses of being judged all the time, even if it's good judgment, but you can tell that there's people that they're kind of rude, or they don't think your shit is cool. And I was listening to Rush today, and I was just like, all that shit just flew away. And I was just like, oh, this is the only thing that matters, is like making music that's beautiful. That's the only thing that's ever mattered. Don't even work, like, you could be a virtuoso, or you could be, okay. And it doesn't mean the virtuoso is going to make the better music, It was just a beautiful experience. One of the things that really floored me was the final song of this album is called Cygnus X-1 Book I, The Voyage, which is a very science fiction-y title. Everything's falling. I'm very familiar with Cygnus X-1 Book II, which is the first track of the album Hemispheres, which is thus far my favorite Rush album. But as I was listening to this album today, I was really like, oh my God, did I find a Rush album that I potentially like more than Hemispheres? And I don't know yet because I haven't listened to it enough. But I was also like, is this one of the best albums of the 70s? And then I was like, wait, is this one of the best albums of all time? It really did a number on me today. I just couldn't believe it. What I don't understand, the thing that blows me away is how did this one come before Hemispheres? Musically, vibe, like 2112 has like spacey sound effects, so it's like science fiction. And then Farewell to Kings had a lot of that, but it also just like sounded more modern than Hemispheres. Hemispheres sounded like an earlier rock record in like sonically. And I was just like, oh my God, like I kept checking to make sure that I got the date right. So it almost, to me, A Farewell to Kings musically feels like it should be the sequel to Hemispheres. And it's also like there's some parts of it that are just like really complex and just amazing. I just couldn't believe it. I think it's become one of my favorite albums of all time in the last hour. One thing I'll say is I'm not paying super close attention to lyrics, and I understand that there's a lot of storylines and story happening in the lyrics. And so that's a cool thing that I'll get to explore down the line. Maybe I'll make another video series where I kind of learn more about what the stories and the songs are about. But I kind of let this album wash over me. And to the point where I was like, I'm not even hearing the musical numbers. I'm not hearing like, oh, that's the 4, that's the flat 7. I wasn't hearing like, oh, that's an interesting rhythm, this time signature. I didn't care about none of that. I was just like in the music. And when does that happen? That happens in like D'Angelo, Voodoo. You know, there's like these albums that wash over you. And this is one of them. Abbey Road is one of them by the Beatles. It's just like, it just washes over you. It's so good. Wow. Bravo.